game if it weren't for some of those hacks, because that information probably was gotten as a result of someone getting on a staff character and you know, taking copies of everything. So, you know, so again,
I mean, yeah, it's kind of a weird way to think about that. I mean, without that happening, we wouldn't be at the point where we're at now, too. So it's kind of a good thing it happened.
I mean, at the time, it was actually really bad because if you look at Elysian's logs, for example, everyone's account information is there. They can see everything. So a lot of players ended up getting hacked because they were able to get their account information. Dark Shrouds is one that comes to mind. She was completely hacked, and you know, a lot of characters were hacked at that point, and a lot of people ended up getting suicided and messed around with. So it sucked. The game suffered a lot. Like, I mean, anyone who played back in like '02, late '01, the game got hacked, and there was this. That's when Cade Free For All started. The game got hacked, and voids ended up showing up everywhere in the game. So you would just be walking in, like, you know, local, like Cade local or an evil and stuff like that, and you'd end up in a void for like 8 hours because there's no staff on, and you couldn't do anything about it. The only people who can get out of there were like Coven. And so in order to facilitate fixing that, they opened up Cade to Free For All. Just to give us something to do, because idols were locked down. You couldn't really invade for idols because, yeah, you'd go on an invasion, you'd grab an idol, and then next thing you know, you're stuck in a void. And that lasted for like 6 months. And then there was an issue with the game. There was was DOS'd for like 2 weeks. It was like, and there was a message by Chris Radibue. I guess I can't pronounce his last name. He was Javerin, who was like a actual Mythic employee, and Mike Moore's like talking about how like they're contacting the FBI and stuff like that. But I don't know really what came of that. But the game was DOS, and it got reset for about 3 weeks back. It wasn't a full reset, but the game rolled back like 3 weeks. So there's been a lot of issues with hacking and things like that. And, you know, a lot of players can think of a few people who may or may not have been involved. I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but we know who we're talking about at this point. So
I certainly do.
so I mean, I've only really I started the game in like late 2000, early 2001. I really wasn't one of the original players of the game. I missed beta and stuff like that. I played AOL, and I kind of like didn't even know this existed until a friend of mine named Odin, who actually became an imp named Crucify, if anyone remembers him. He's the one that got me to start the game, and I started in Chaos. Actually, my first character was a Null, and I kind of like gave up on it, and then I went to Evil. I was like, all right, well, let me try Wolf, and I liked Wolf, and it was a shitty role, and I just liked playing, and I learned the game and made friends, and like everyone else, and I stuck with it forever. And, you know, so it seems like I've been around forever, but I wasn't from the beginning. I just never left once I started. So
That's your story, and you're sticking to it.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, DFC, it was hard. It was hard when the game went down. I think everyone experienced it. I was kind of like heartbroken. It was just it was like my first experience with something similar to like an MMO, I guess.
Yeah.
It was like an MMO, you know? And just like making friends and enemies and stuff like that, and like having like realm pride and like loyalty. Like I took a lot of pride in the fact that I didn't really play other realms. Like I didn't realm hop, and like Evil was like my home, and like, you know, like people like Polo, for example, who like hated my Necromancer. But on Wolf, I hated his rogue, so it was kind of like give and take, and it was friendly, you know. Like there were certain people you couldn't stand just because of the way they played, but you know, they played the game and they were part of it, you know. And this is like a really tight knit community, and you know, just being able to talk to people and kind of see how they are now and stuff like that. It's you know, what you guys are doing really kind of like it's brought everything back now, you know. Like I thought I was over it. I thought like I kicked the habit, and now it's like it's over now. Like I'm a fiend again, like completely.
Yeah, it's kind of like a heroin addiction, and it's kind of bad in a way because this makes you want it so bad. Seeing it, it brings back all those memories. You're like, I gotta have it. I gotta have it.
Yeah, like I said, yesterday, it's like the fact that it was taken away from us. It only adds to that.
Yeah, I mean, that whole situation was, I mean, I think everyone who's here now probably was playing when that happened, and it was a devastating thing. Like I think I was how old was I when the game went down? It was 2006, right? So it was January. It was January of 2006, I think. So that was like I was like 22, I think 23, and I came home from college. And I was like, I'm gonna play, and I logged in, and I was like, nope. It's not happening. And then I look on the boards, and you see that message, like, yeah, like for whatever reason, like the game's gone, and like that's it. It's not coming back, and just that outrage, and everyone desperately trying to contact people to figure out like any way to get the game back open. And I guess the salt in the wound too is like if anyone's familiar with Dragon's Gate. But at the time, Dragon's Gate was untouched. Dragon's Gate was the only game that was left untouched at that point, because I guess the one of the employees of Mythic actually took it upon himself to take the Dragon's Gate servers and like run it at cost, like out of his basement or something, and that game remained open. So that was like the most frustrating thing of all, because it was like what we loved was taken away, but like for other people, they still had what they cared about, you know?
Yeah, Nania was saying something to that effect. If you watched the entire VOD last night or this morning, rather, she was saying how one of the staffers was actually like paying for it basically out of pocket. So I'm not sure if he was doing that for a while and it just became cost prohibitive to him, or if they made him kill it for another reason.
Well, to my understanding is the game, because of everything that was going on with Mythic. Mythic was at that point. Mythic was I became a beta tester for Dark Age of Camelot. I played Dark Age of Camelot for a very long time while I was playing DFC. And so right out of the gate, when they were getting ready to launch the Dark Age of Camelot, they were people like Javrin and stuff like that, who were actually real Mythic employees who actually took part in the running of this game. And like Taz, if anyone remembers Taz, they recruited players from DFC. You know, like, oh, come over and play Dark Age of Camelot. You're gonna have fun, and so that's kind of where that's where I first heard about the game. So they gave me an offer, and I became a beta tester for Dark Age of Camelot. And so at that point, so you can kind of see where the progress of the game was going, because up until that point, because Dark Age of Camelot launched in 2001, up until that point, there was a lot of staff activity. Real Mythic employees who actually came to the game and did changes, like Griffin, if anyone knows him. He was the lead programmer for the game. Brian was his name, Brian Axelson. He would regularly come into the game and make changes. Like that's how Goblin Bombs were added, and Lizard Breath was touched up and things like that. So once kind of Dark Age of Camelot rolled out and it became like a commercial success, a lot of the resources and attention to DFC kind of like started to fade.
Right. Yeah.
And basically their excuse, everything that happened was basically once Mythic started to kind of like fade, and because they also did Warhammer Online, which was a colossal fucking failure, if anyone's familiar with that. But they were trying to roll out another MMO called Imperator Online, which is like a 3-realm kind of like Aztec versus Mayan versus whatever Inca like thing in a futuristic space environment. That was also a colossal failure. That didn't even roll out of its like conception stage. And so once they eventually got bought out by EA, and I can't remember what happened first, but their excuse for everything was, and I really don't know how true it was, is a lot of the proprietary like data, like as far as like the algorithms and stuff like that, I guess was copyrighted by ICE or Rollmaster, and it wasn't really Mythic's property. And so Brian Axelson actually came the last 2 weeks before the game went down. I remember that distinctly. I guess they were looking over code and what they could do, and I guess they were trying to break up the system, or try and like separate what they owned from what ICE owned. I mean, again, this is all hearsay. Like, I don't know exactly how true this is, but according to other players, like, this is true. They just basically said it wasn't worth the effort to try and separate everything and rebuild the combat system and stuff like that. So they just said, all right, screw it, like, we're closing it. And then all the Mythic property became EA property because EA, Mythic got bought out by EA. And then they merged together to make Warhammer. And then Mythic got shuffled into BioWare. And then eventually Mark Jacobs got fired, and Mythic got dissolved, and the rest is history. Like, everything is right now at this point is owned by EA. So that's kind of like what happened in a sense. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing maybe a little some of the finer details, but that's kind of what happened to the game. Yeah, pretty much. The game's gone, and EA has it, and we're never going to see that again. There's no incentive for them to ever release it, and who knows what kind of legal fucking nightmare that is going to end up being, especially if ICE and Rollmaster and all of them even give a shit anymore. Like, I don't know. I don't know enough about any of that stuff.
I would hope they wouldn't care anymore because of this ancient property that they're never going to do anything with. But
I think it just boils down to, all right, well, it's our property, like, we copyright it, we have all the rights to it, so why would we give it away for free? Like, that makes no sense. And from a business perspective, if you're interested in it, then you're going to give it up. We're not going to give it to you, you're going to pay for it. And or in their minds, then you're going to you're going to take on all the risk, you're going to have the data, but like, we're going to get a kickback as you profit off of it. They just don't like the idea of people profiting or potentially profiting off of something they own, because again, from a business standpoint, they paid money for that property, so they want to make their money back at the very least. So, could just be stubbornness. Like, maybe they're afraid we know something that they don't. They don't want to miss the boat, and you're going to end up turning their property into some like $1 million franchise or something like that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know where the mindset is, other than the fact that, like, if you're going to make money, they want to make money. Period.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate bureaucracy behind it all, but we're not too concerned about it. We have taken measures already to have original licensed properties, so we're basically preparing for both worlds, both outcomes. So I think it depends on what they do.
I mean, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, the chances of, please, I hope no one's recording this, but the chances of anyone really bothering what you're doing at this point, I think, is like slim to none. I mean, there's always a chance, and it's good that you're protecting yourselves or taking precautions, but the chances of you, like, oh my god, like, do you see these guys, like, they're making $90 a month, like, sue them, like, the chance of something like that happening is probably next to nothing. But again, you could never be sure. You have to be careful. So
right. Yeah, I think that we're all older now, and we actually have a couple of lawyers in the community, and so we're kind of piecing together a little militia of this community to support this project. So I think that ultimately we're going to do what we love doing, which is for us, for people, specifically, is to redevelop the game, and then once it's at a certain point, we'll probably possibly even openly discuss the future direction of other endeavors, or whether or not it becomes a pay-to-play kind of thing, because that honestly has to be dealt with as an idea because of certain things, such as creating accounts and not like flooding the game with endless amount of characters for free, so people could kind of go crazy. So we have to kind of find the middle ground, keep it simple, because we're not in this to make money, because if we were, then we'd probably go about it very differently. But
well, you'd be hiring programmers and everything else, because at that point, if you have a projected profit margin or whatever the case may be, like you'd be investing a lot more into it, expecting a bigger kickback. And I don't think you guys would be taking all this time of your own time to like rebuilding the game. And I got